Welcome back to my channel, Mend with Mare. Okay, so I am finally back. I apologize for the delay in getting a video out to you all. I've been dealing with COVID and some other life stressors, so I'm finally back.
Back in business.
I just felt so overwhelmed by all the comments and the suggestions and the different ways that you were interpreting the song Tolerate It. Thank you for giving me all of that feedback. And a lot of you were like, keep making content. So I felt motivated to get on here and do it today. So I reviewed the list of songs and I really wanted to do Evermore because that seemed to have come up a lot. And that is the last song on the album called Evermore. Thought it would be great to review, so let's just get right on into it.
Gray November, I've been down since July. Motion capture put me in a bad light.
Oh gosh, beautiful. I'm feeling mental health things right now. I'm feeling trauma just from these lyrics already. When she's talking about gray November, and we know what a gray November can be like. It can be really rough and tough on your mental health. She said that she's been down since July. So since the summertime, she's been down since then. Motion capture is whenever you are recording the movements of some type of object or thing. The military uses this, entertainment uses this. Whenever you see like a green screen and there are actors that have like the little like dots all over them, it's because their movements are actually being recorded. So she's saying that the movement that she had, something that had happened, put her in a bad light. Being a Taylor Swift fan, I don't know, this immediately makes me think of Kanye West. I really would prefer not to even mention his name or give him any more discussion than he already gets, because I don't think he is the kindest of people, but I also truly believe that he struggles with his own mental health issues. But regardless of that, he has done some things, and when I think of July for her, I know she's talked about this before. I remember in 2016, that was when he released that song about her where he said, bitch famous, be famous. I really don't want to cuss on here, but that's what he said. And, the tape was released and made it seem like she was, all on board for it. And it wasn't until I think 2020 when it came out that he played her everything up till that line. And the fact that someone would think that that was okay, to think that, a woman would be okay with him claiming to have made her famous, which is just so insulting and disgusting and ridiculous, because she got her first album of the year. How old was she? I mean, she was really young. Aside from even him claiming that he made her famous and calling her a bitch, I would say that the worst part of it was his music video, where he used, I don't even think we know if it was wax models or what it was, but the resolution on his film was really gritty and it was hard. I mean, you could totally tell he got a wax figure of Taylor laying next to him naked, completely topless in bed. And there were other famous people that were also naked in bed with him. And just how it goes into just degrading a woman, and there's something really gross about it. And I think it was rumored that he paid like over $750,000 for these wax figures for this music video. And it's interesting because at the end of the video, I think Kanye is the only one that opens up his eyes at the end, like, he's the enlightened one. I mean, it's so narcissistic, so self-indulgent, so delusional, honestly. If you see the video, which I don't really want you to look at because I don't want you to add any more views to it, but it really gave me like a sick, creepy, like
Serial killer vibe.
like having these bodies in bed and the way that the film was. It was really weird. I mean, he's claiming that he made her famous, and he's actually using her to get people to talk about his music video. and in a way that's so slimy and disgusting. You know, our society always focuses on women's bodies and picking them apart, and it's a way to degrade a woman. And Taylor, you know, hasn't put anything out that provocative. And so to show her naked laying in bed next to him is awful. And he has children, he has girls. I hope he feels some type of shame for putting that out there. And women have always dealt with their bodies being objectified. And I think that it's really gross. And I truly think that when she talks about July, it could be July of, I don't know, when the pandemic happened or quarantine, because this song kind of gives me those feels. But I really, truly feel like it goes back to 2016. And Taylor is just too smart and too classy to make it as obvious and letting everybody interpret it the way that they want instead of calling him out, which I would be totally here for though, because he deserves it. So if you stop it right on that point, in June or July, Taylor got canceled by a lot of people because they believe that she did know about being called a bitch and was faking it and acting like she had no idea. She said she didn't want to be part of the narrative. And then it came out years later that actually she was telling the truth. So for that moment in time, it put her in a bad light. It truly did. So that's why it's giving me these 2016 Kanye West feels, but we'll see. Or her record label too. Could be that too.
I replay my footsteps on each stepping stone, trying to find the one where I went wrong, writing letters addressed to the fire.
So replaying her footsteps on each stepping stone.
Oh,
That is so hard when you're in a state of shock and you're trying to like go over and go over and go over what might have happened that led you to where you are. Like, she's probably wondering, how did I end up here? Here this man is that she presented an award to, who he got her to present an award to him, and then not long after, he's using her, turning everything on her, and then putting her naked in a music video. I don't even know if we can even understand what that would feel like to be, first of all, famous and everybody knows you, and then to have this like naked version wax figure of you, like some kind of creepy, grainy serial killer footage. I would be wondering the same thing. That's a pretty significant trauma. I mean, that's so significant. So it kind of gives me PTSD feels as well. But when she's saying like writing letters addressed to the fire, it's like she wants to say so much. She wants to communicate but can't, because if she does, it'll probably lead to even more of a fire. Like, this is a fire that will engulf her if she even responds to it. It's like she's learned her lesson. She's not going to do that. She has every right to say so much, but she doesn't.
And I was catching my breath, staring out an open window, catching my death. And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar that this pain would be for evermore.
When you are so far down that you think that you're never going to escape that pain. She's talking about she was catching her death, and that's actually, I think, a British saying where like, don't go outside with wet hair or you're going to catch your death. And so it's like you might catch a cold or you might get sick from this. And so I'm interpreting as she's getting sick from all of this. She's staring out this open window and like catching her death. Like this might be the death of her. You could also think about it that way. Being sure, like this feeling that you're like, oh shoot, this might be it. This might be how I feel forever. And that is traumatizing.
Hey December, guess I'm feeling unmoored. Can't remember what I used to fight for.
So it seems as if she is dealing with, I would say, some type of disassociation. And this is related to post-traumatic stress disorder. So when you've gone through a traumatic event, sometimes later on, unexpectedly, you can have like a loss of reality. And I say that because unmoored, it's a person that's unsure, confused, or like really lacking contact with reality. So just being so confused by like what's real, what's fake, can't trust anyone, and not knowing what you used to fight for, that shows me that your motivation is gone. When I speak of disassociation, there's two different kinds. There's depersonalization and derealization. So depersonalization is when you're looking at yourself from the outside, or you feel that way. So you can feel as if you are watching yourself from the outside, as if your life is like a film, or you can feel like you're just there and you're just observing your emotions instead of feeling them. You might feel as if you're kind of floating away, and you might not understand the boundaries between yourself and another person. But overall, it's really just feeling detached and kind of like not in your own life, or that your life is going by kind of like a movie. If you've ever experienced that, it is a very strange feeling, and it's called depersonalization. So when she says feeling unmoored, can't remember what she used to fight for, it gives me that kind of like sense that she doesn't know about her own reality. I think she's going more through depersonalization, but it's good for me to kind of cover derealization. And that's when you feel like the world around you is unreal. Objects will look as if they have a different shape, or things will feel foggy, or colors are kind of muted. You might feel as if other people are robots, and as if everything else that you are experiencing just isn't real at all. And I think that we all get kind of, or some of us can get a little freaked out when we think about life in some existential ways, where you're thinking about whether we're in like a computer animation game. Is life even real? Are we just like a Sims character and some alien is controlling us right now? There's lots of things that I hear. I can only imagine for her, where she's this person that is so insanely famous, and things are said about her and misconstrued, and some of it becomes almost like the reality of the story when it isn't, when it couldn't be more far from it. This has to be just like very disorienting for her.
I rewind the tape, but all it does is pause on the very moment all was lost, sending signals to be double-crossed.
Oh,
So she rewinds the tape, and all it does is it pauses on that same moment. There's a great word called perseveration. When you're perseverating on something, that it's as if you can't let it go. And sometimes we tend to do this when we're trying to make sense of things. And when all was lost, when everything just seemed to have fallen and collapsed maybe in her life, it was all lost. And while everything was disappearing for her, or she was losing so many things, she felt like it was signaling to the other person to double cross her. So when she finally spoke out and said, look, I didn't approve that lyric saying I made that bitch famous, it's all falling down, like he totally betrayed me. He then makes the pain even worse by putting her in a music video naked. I mean, I can't.
And I was catching my breath, barefoot in the wildest winter, catching my death.
Think about that. Catching your breath barefoot in the wildest winter. You know how hard it is to breathe out in cold weather? I mean, sometimes that cold air will hit the back of your throat, and it like almost makes you have to cough or choke because it's so cold, it's stifling. So she's feeling that way. She's feeling like she's catching her death. Like she's getting sick over this. Like, am I gonna be like this forever? Am I gonna feel like this forever? It's horrible.
And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar that this pain would be for evermore.
Cannot think of all the cost, all the things that will be lost. Or can we just get a pause to be certain we'll be tall again?
Oh, I love those lyrics. Oh, they're so good. Cannot think of all the cost
oh,
and all the things that will be lost. I'm sorry, those lyrics just get to me. I feel like I'm like wondering if any of you, if that gets to you as well. Cannot think of all the costs and all the things that will be lost because of what has occurred. Normalcy. Can we get a pause to be certain we'll be tall again? Like wondering if you're going to be able to stand, to show your face, to be able to feel good about yourself again, because whatever happened just felt as if it took away every part of you. And this does remind me of quarantine, and you thinking about all that was lost, like how scary that was in 2020 when it all started. And like, can we just stop? Can we be sure that this is going to go back to normal? I'm sure that she felt that way too when it comes to that time back in 2016. But think about it whenever, when you've gone through something that was devastating or traumatic. I mean, it can be just like so gut-wrenching to not know if life will change for the better or not.
Where the weather be the frost, or the violence of the dog days, I'm on waves of being tossed. Is there a line that I could just go?
Oh, that feeling, like I'm out on waves being tossed around. It's just like you're just being hit left and right with something. Like it's relentless. Like that's what I feel right here. And she's so smart saying whether it's the freezing cold, the frost that just like stuns you and you can't move, or the violence of the dog days when things are just brutal. And it's just like, I'm out here being tossed around. Is there something I could just go back in time and just cross it out, and then all of this would just be different? It reminds me of when people are experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. They really, there's those flashbacks that happen, which are like these involuntary memories that feel as if you are experiencing them right now. It's like you are reliving the event that happened. It gives me those feelings.
And when I was shipwrecked, I thought of you.
All the things that will be lost now.
In the cracks of light,
Just get apart.
I dreamed of you.
To be certain we'll be told to be thankful.
And it was real enough
Weather be the frost,
to get me through.
all the violence of the dog days. Out on waves being tossed.
I swear.
Is there a line that we can just go cross?
Oh, you were there. There's something that was getting her through. There's something. When she says you were there, I don't necessarily think that it has to be a person like her boyfriend. I think that it could be something like source, something bigger than you, God. It could be her music, like the things, like when you are just getting wrecked in life, it's like, what's the thing that you do that gets you through, that could help you survive? And each one of us needs to know and identify what that is. And for me, it's writing, working with other people, spending time with family and friends, and doing these videos have helped me tremendously. And when I think about just the feeling, the pace of the song, how it increases, and just the stress of it, like the violence of the dog days, and just beaten down with everything. And then also questioning, like, I dreamed of you. Are you real? Will you help me through this time period? Will something beyond me help me? Because it feels that huge.
And I was catching my breath, floors of a cabin creaking under my step. And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar. This pain wouldn't be for evermore.
Out that way in the end. I had forgotten about that. Oh my gosh. So floors of the cabin creaking underneath her. She's no longer barefoot in the wildest winter anymore. She's in a cabin. She's got some warmth. She's got some wood underneath her that's creaking, and that it hits her, that peculiar feeling that it won't be forevermore. Nothing lasts forever. And I love that. There's a saying in Buddhism that's the only two things that you can count on are change and suffering. I feel like I've talked about this before, but maybe not. But I love that because it's like, when you accept that suffering is going to be part of your life, like you're going to have it at some point. You won't feel so angry that it's occurring to you. But then also knowing that change, you can always count on change. What goes up must come down. That yes, she was in her wildest winter, like barefoot, couldn't breathe, feeling sick and as if she's going to die from it, but yet something turns around, and it will. And that's what's so important to keep in mind for all of us, with other videos that I've discussed with suicidal thoughts and low self-worth, being in toxic relationships, You know, it always can change. It can. And that's what can make life so exciting. But we're human and it's very hard to keep that mindset, but it's important too. And I think that Taylor always does a great job of feeling the true emotion of a moment in time. This feels as if, you know, we're not left with fear. We're left with, okay, it's gonna get better. A lot of times our suffering makes us better. I'm not gonna say that that's always for a good reason, but sometimes it can make us see life in a different way. So I hope that I hit on some things that you all also see for yourselves. And thank you so much for taking this time with me. I can't wait to hear back from you all. So be well, be safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.